Ben Whittaker has just put on another outstanding performance, another round one knockout, stopping Braian Suarez in the very first round. A great left hook to the body, followed by a right hook to the head. Some calls for it being in the back of the head. For me, it was a clean punch on basically the top of the ear. You also had Braian Suarez swinging his left and moving in that direction anyway. So for me, there was no problems with the punch. Puts him down. A second fight in a row for Ben Whittaker where he gets a round one knockout. And, you know, he showed why he's called the surgeon, because that was textbook, that was surgical, that was precise. And he even showed a bit of confidence, a bit of, showboating today, which I always like to see with Ben Whittaker. I think it creates some character. And, some of the best fighters in the world were showboats. Prince Nassim and Muhammad Ali, two of the biggest showboats in the world, but two of the best fighters of all time. And I guess the biggest question now was, we all knew he was going to beat Braian Suarez. We all knew he was going to beat Benjamin Gavazi. Yeah, maybe not two first-rounders, but nonetheless, there was no question he was going to win those fights. When does this step up come now? He's 11, 12 fights into his pro career, 27, 28 years of age. For me, the step up needs to come sooner rather than later. I mean, Eddie Hearn spoke following that fight that the next fight for Ben Whittaker will be on the Xander Zayas versus John Boots Ennis fight, which is June 27th at the Barclays Center in New York, followed by a return to Birmingham later in the year where he's going to take on either a title eliminator or a domestic grudge match. Now, there's plenty of English light heavyweights that I would like to see him in there with. You have Lyndon Arthur, you got Ezra Taylor, you got Willie Hutchinson, you got Anthony Yard, you've got Zach Parker. There's plenty of people. You got Joshua Buatsi. There's no shortage of names, of English names, but that does concern me that the next fight that he's going to take in the US will just be a sort of another level to a Braian Suarez, another level to Benjamin Gavazi instead of a step up, which I think is a mistake. He doesn't need a US debut. He needs a step up. He needs a challenge. He needs to be given 10 hard rounds against a good light heavyweight opponent. No offense to Gavazi, no offense to Braian Suarez, but we saw what Ben Whittaker did to these guys. For me, it is time we see this guy step up. I'm not saying he needs to go and take on David Morrell, Dmitry Bivol, Beterbiev. I'm not saying that he needs to do that, but for me, there is a stage of fighting between David Benavidez and Gavazi and Suarez. There is a middle ground there, and that's what he needs to find. That's his next opponent. There's plenty of names that I'd like to see him in there with. I'd like to see him in there with Anthony Yard, Imam Kartiev. There's plenty of names in there. Like I said, those few English names that I've already named, any of those I'd be happy to see him in there, because at least all of those for me are a step up for Ben Whittaker. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think.